was 6 years old, I wondered what my purpose was in life. I was six. And when I started first grade, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to lead something one day. You see, I loved the way my first grade teacher led her class. She made everybody feel special. She gave everyone a response opportunity, and she made sure that we all knew how to read and write. 12 years later, I joined the Army. So you see, my dad was in the Army for 27 years. I was a dad girl, and I wanted to be just like him. And my very first day of basic training, I was placed in a leadership role. We had to put together 40 wardrobes, and the drill sergeant said we had 8 hours to do so, and then we would get the rest of our gear. So I said, ladies, we can get this done in less than 3, 4 hours. Who's good with reading directions? One lady said, oh, I can just look at the directions and tell you where everything goes. I said, okay, we need three more just like her. So the tall girls held up the sides of the wardrobes, and the small girls like me, we did the nuts and the bolts. So the drill sergeant came back around chow time 3.5 hours later and saw that we'd finished the task. And he said, ladies, and we said, yes, drill sergeant. And he says, how did you finish so fast? So one lady stood up and said, Baby Moseley gave us roles and responsibilities based upon our strengths. You see, I was the youngest person in basic training right out of high school. But I knew better. I stood up and said, oh no, Baby Moseley's not going to take credit for something that the team did together. See, even at 18, I knew not to take credit for something like that. I am Her Excellency Dr. Theresa Ann Moseley, a United Nations Peace Ambassador, U.S. Army veteran, retired educator after 28 years of service, owner of TAM Creating Ambassadors of Peace, 24-time best-selling author, 4-time international best-selling author. They call me the peacemaker, and I am a transformational leader. Over my years working in the military and in education, I learned that there's some essential soft skills for effective leadership, that everyone needs to lead with grace. And I'm here today to share a few of them with you. It's so important to have communication, collaboration, integrity, accountability, organization, emotional intelligence. But I'm just going to focus on a few today. And let's start with communication. See, communication is not just talking back and forth. It's active listening. It's listening with your eyes as well as your ears. And listen for clarity. Sometimes people like to listen to say, okay, how am I going to come back? What am I going to say next? But you need to listen for clarity to make sure that all voices are also heard at the table. You have to have systems and structures in place for collaboration and communication to take place. See, as a high school principal, we already had system and structures. We had collaborative planning where teams would get together, develop lesson plans. We had parent-teacher meetings, parent-student meetings to talk about the progress of the student. We had administrative team meetings. We had faculty meetings. We had data utilization, learning walks, instructional rounds, so many different systems and structures to make sure that collaboration and communication was ongoing in our school system. No matter what your organization is, you do have a vision and mission. And there needs to be a system and structure in place where you can communicate that vision and mission, and also checks and balances, meeting on a regular basis, whether it's monthly or quarterly, to make sure that you're meeting the goals that you set forth in your mission statement and that you're working on your vision. So collaboration and communication actually go hand in hand. Let's talk about integrity for a moment. It's very important that your employees trust you, that they respect you. Having integrity is so important as an essential soft skill in effective leadership. I remember one time that, you can't say that all people are the same. So when you're dealing with individuals, you have to give them individual consideration, which is actually a tenet of transformational leadership. I remember one time I had an employee that was coming to work late quite a bit. And instead of just writing her off, I just wanted to know, how can I help? I didn't know there was something medical, there was something with children. I just said, you're getting to work late. What can I do to help? Do you need your schedule changed? And she goes, oh, no, I can get to work on time. And so the next day she was late again. So I still kind of gave her some grace. I said, okay, you're still coming to work late. I want you to think about 3 things that you can change to get to work on time. whether it's something in the night or something in the morning. 3 things that you can change to get the work on time. Now write them down and put them to action. And the next day, she was at work on time. And the next week, she was at work on time. And the next month, she was at work on time. And so I was very happy that, she figured it out. So one day I went by her room and she says, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And I said, "Yeah." And she says, "I want to tell you my truth." I said, "Oh, what's your truth?" And she says, "I've always could have gotten to work on time, but no one really held me accountable. But you did, and I really appreciate that." And I said, "Thank you for telling me your truth. But I knew that you could get to work on time too." And I let it go. I didn't write her off. You have to give people grace. Sometimes they need leadership. So when you're leading an organization, make sure that you lead with integrity and grace and give people individual consideration. Adaptability is also important. Sometimes change happens and we have to adjust to that change. And sometimes there are problems that need to be figured out. And in order to get those problems solved, you have to be adaptable and ready for change. I remember one time that my teachers had a problem with the amount of time they had to score benchmarks. And so they only had an hour and a half planning, and they said, Dr. Moseley, we really don't have enough time to score these benchmarks, but we have to score them and then analyze the data. I said, "Okay, so how much time do you need?" And they said, "Well, we need about 3 days." And I said, "Okay, we can make that happen." "Well, how are you going to make that happen?" I said, "How many students do you have?" I said, "About 210 in each content area." And I said, "Okay, for math, let me take your kids for 3 days in the auditorium. And so I have all of your kids. You can score the benchmarks one day. You can analyze the data and share the data." "What?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "What about behavior?" I said, "Won't have a behavior problem. Tell them to bring materials, bring pen, paper, bring pencil. I'll take attendance. I think it's about 6 classes per mod. I'll line up the attendance sheets. I'll make sure attendance get to the attendance secretary. I'll have bathroom passes, so if anybody wants to go, they don't have to interrupt me. And I'll teach them how to write 5 paragraph essays and make it something that's interesting to them, right?" So that's what I did for 3 days. I taught them how to write a 5 paragraph essay, and we were comparing and contrasting things that happen in the world in terms of violence, which was my platform, by the way, making sure this world is a more peaceful place. And it was a really good experience for the students. I didn't have any behavior problems. They got the benchmark scored. And then the next quarter, they were able to figure it out on their own, using their own creativity to get the benchmark scored without me. So I gave them individual consideration. I gave them my intellectual influence on them, and it worked out. So make sure that if there's a problem that needs to be solved, and problem solving is also a soft skill, that you're creative and that you listen and model for your employees. You see, they took my creativity and made their own creative thing to do to get the benchmark score. So these things are very important. Effective soft skills, the essential soft skills for effective leadership. I wrote this book and I talked about adaptability. I talked about integrity, organization, time management, emotional intelligence. I need to talk about emotional intelligence just for a minute. It's one thing to know who you are and what your biases are and how you feel about specific things. But it's also important that you understand the feelings of the people in your organization, understanding that what you say and how it will make them feel. And also, if they're going through something, be able to relate to what they're going through, be able to give them some compassion and empathy. So keeping your emotions in check are so important in running an organization. The last thing I want to talk about is just the overall essence of leadership. I believe that the key to world peace lies within leadership. I believe that if everybody understands that they're here with a divine assignment, it's already in them. They have a gift that they can use and they can share it with the world, right? I knew a long time ago that my gift was my voice. My passion was serving others, and my purpose is to make this world a more peaceful place. So I need to use my voice to make a difference in the world, to send messages of love, peace, and hope. And here's what I learned. It's an Ikigai philosophy around purpose. If there's something that the world needs and you're really good at it, then with me, that's leadership. Then that's your mission in life. And if you really love to do something that you could do it every day, then that's your passion. But if you're blessed enough to have something that the world needs, you're really good at it, you love to do it, you're passionate about it, and you get paid to do that from 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever, then that's your divine assignment, then that's your purpose. That's where you'll find success, fulfillment, prosperity, and inner peace. Now let's think about that in terms of leadership. If a leader is leading an organization and using the essential soft skills for effective leadership, that climate is going to be peaceful. That climate is going to be safe, and that climate is going to thrive. But if you're in an organization where the leadership the leaders do not lead with grace, and they lead with fear, and they lead by, a top down, it's me, it's what I say, it's what I do, and not what you say and what you do, you're going to have problems within the organization. There's going to be some depression. There's going to be some anxiety. Am I going to be fired? What's going to happen to me? This leadership style is not aligned with a leadership style that leads to a peaceful climate. So I really suggest that you get to know everyone in your organization, know their strengths, and I'm not going to say weaknesses, but know how they need to build, what they need to grow on. So when you use something like, okay, what are your strengths and what do you need to grow on? It's different than saying, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses? Try to keep it positive. This may sound touchy-feely, but it actually works. And when someone is struggling with something, build them up. Use your creativity. Be empathetic. Have integrity. People need to work to make a living for their family. So it's important that we give everybody a chance and a grace to thrive. Now, there might be a case where someone really is in the wrong position. And that's where the tough questions come in, and open-ended questions. And maybe that person will discover on their own, well, maybe this is not the place for me. Maybe I need to be somewhere else. But at the end of the day, leaders that lead, it is your responsibility to make sure your organization is safe, is peaceful, and it's conducive. In education, conducive to learning, safe and orderly environment. Kids cannot learn in a chaotic situation. So whatever your organization is, whatever your business is, make sure when you're training your trainers, when you're training the leaders, the supervisors in your organization, that you teach them the essential soft skills for effective leadership. I'm going to read them to you once again. Empathy, integrity, creativity, organization, time management, emotional intelligence, communication, collaboration, adaptability. This will lead to a very peaceful climate and culture. And when people go to work and they feel good about their job, when they come home, they're going to be happy. On the way home, they're going to be happy. In the grocery store, they're going to be happy. When they meet their kids, they're going to be happy. And that's what I want. I want this world to be a peaceful place. So here's the thing. If you're in leadership, you should lead with grace, but also help your employees discover what they're here to do, right? Help them discover self. Help them discover their value and worth. And you can do that by making sure you give them measurable goals, things that they can do that you know that they can achieve. And then give them goals that will reach them beyond what they're doing. Then they really feel good about themselves. You see, I think that if you live in your purpose, you will be successful, fulfilled, prosperous, and have inner peace. And if you're a leader in an organization, it's your responsibility to make sure that there's peace within that organization. That peace will lead within your organization, within the community, within schools if they're in your area. I am Her Excellency, Dr. Theresa Ann Moseley. You can reach me on all social media sites. My website is creatingambassadorsofpeace.com, and it links to all of my social media sites. If you're looking for training on effective leadership, you need to contact me. There's a form you can fill out on my website that has all of the information that you need. I want to leave you with my personal quote. Life is but a short road to our ultimate destiny. Make peace, have compassion, and learn to love before you get there. Live your best life. Be who you are meant to be on this earth. Use your gift, your passion, and purpose to make this world a better place. And if you're a leader in an organization, always lead with grace, peace, and blessings to you all.